The three main books of wisdom are Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. They are all about what kind of world we are living in and how to be wise, or basically how to be good at life. Proverbs can be personified as a brilliant young teacher. And she's not just wise, she's smart about everything. And she can see things that most people can't see. She has a very unique outlook on life. She believes that there is an invisible creative force in the universe that can guide people in how they should live. In English, it is translated to wisdom. You can't see it, but it's like gravity. It affects everything. It is woven into the fabric of everything. Whenever someone is making a good or wise decision, they are tapping into that force. Whenever someone is making a bad or evil decision, they are working against it. In Proverbs chapter 1, it says, "The waywardness of fools will destroy them, but the one who listens to wisdom lives in security." Proverbs personifies this force as a woman, Lady Wisdom. She roams around the earth calling out, making herself available to anyone who is willing to listen to her and to learn. Anyone can interact and access wisdom and use it to make a beautiful life. It doesn't just translate into intellectual knowledge, but the word is also used to describe a skilled artist who excels at their craft, like woodworking or stonemason. You show you possess this force when you put it to work and develop the skill of making a good life. That force is an attribute of God Himself, so your journey of becoming wise has to begin with what Proverb calls the fear of the Lord. It is a healthy respect for God's definition of good and evil, and true wisdom means learning those boundary lines and following them. There is a collection of sayings from chapter 10 and on to the end of the book about any and all aspects of life. That force gets applied to them, resulting in this wise guidance to help you find your path to success. Basically saying, if I apply my life to these sayings, life is going to be good. And wise people tend to do better, and things usually work out for them. That is the promise and the wisdom of the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is really beautiful, but it does not cover the real or true picture. It is too simplistic, because sometimes horrible things happen to really wise people, and sometimes foolish people get rewarded. It doesn't always work the way we think it should work. We need to look at all of the books together to get the full idea or meaning of the books of wisdom, or what being wise or being good at life really is. The next book in the wisdom literature is Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes can be personified as a sharp, middle-aged critic who is basically saying, "You think wisdom will bring you success? Well, think again, because life here is meaningless." Basically, what the critic wants to do is to turn your view of the world upside down. In this book, we are hearing two different voices. He is introduced to us by the author. Now, the critic has three main points that are pretty disturbing. The first is the march of time. Generations come and generations go, but the earth, it has been here long before us, and will be long after. No one remembers people from long ago, and all the people yet to come. They too will be forgotten by those who will come after them. Our entire existence is like a blip in time. The second disturbing point that he makes is that we are all going to die. Humans face the same fate as the animals, death. All people, the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, those who offer sacrifices to God and those who do not. They all share the same destiny. All this activity and madness, then we all join the dead. And the third point, life's random nature. In Proverbs, life isn't random. There is a clear cause and effect relationship between doing the right thing and being rewarded. But life doesn't always work that way. The critic has observed a glitch in the system, and he calls it chance. The race doesn't always go to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food always come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant or favor to the educated. Time and chance happen to them. He uses a metaphor nearly 40 times. He says everything in life is hevel. It is a Hebrew word that means smoke or vapor. Like smoke, life is beautiful and mysterious. It takes one shape, and before you know it, it takes a new shape. It looks solid, but if you try and grab it, it will slip right through your fingers. And when you're stuck in it, it's impossible to see clearly. Our modern translations have lost the metaphor, and they usually translate hevel to meaningless. But the critic is not saying that life has no meaning, but rather that its meaning is never clear. Like smoke, life is confusing, disoriented, and uncontrollable. He acknowledges the perspective of Proverbs. First, he says that it's a good idea to learn wisdom and to live in the fear of the Lord, for he knows it's the right thing to do. Second, he says that since you can't control your life, you should stop trying. Learn to hold things with an open hand, because you really only have control over one thing. That's your attitude towards the present moment. Stop worrying and choose to enjoy conversation with a friend, or the sun on your face, or a meal with the people that you care about. The simplest things in life, both the good things and the bad, because both are rich gifts from God. The author speaks at the end of the book. He doesn't want you to lose hope. He wants to make you humble. He says that life has meaning. We just can't see it yet. And that one day, God will clear the hevel and make justice on all that we have done. The proper response to all of this, to fear the Lord and keep His commands. Job starts out with a story that takes place up in the heavens. It is a place described somewhat like a heavenly command center. God is there with these angelic creatures called the sons of God, and they are all there reporting for duty. God points out this guy, Job, his servant, showing how righteous and good he is. And then one of these angelic creatures approaches, and he is referred in Hebrew as the Satan. This word is a title which means the one who is opposed. Out of all these people, he is the one questioning how God is running the world, and he proposes that Job might not actually love God. He is only a good person because God rewards him. If God took away all the good things he gave to Job, that is when we would see his true colors. God agrees to this experiment and allows the Satan to inflict suffering on Job. Job loses everyone and everything that he cares about. It is devastating, and he deserves none of this. God himself said so. In the midst of all the suffering, Job still praises God. Well, at least for chapters 1 and 2. But for chapter 3, we find out how he is really feeling inside. He unleashes this poem that reveals his devastation. It is a long and elaborate curse on the day he was born. After this, some of Job's friends come to visit him to offer their help, and all of them tell him that he must have done something horribly wrong to deserve this. We know God is just, and we know the world is ordered by God's justice and fairness, so you must be getting what you deserve. For the next 34 chapters, the friends and Job go back and forth in very dense Hebrew poetry. His friends even start making lists of hypothetical sins that Job must have committed to deserve all of this, but after each accusation, Job defends his innocence, for he is innocent. Job seems to be going on an emotional roller coaster. In some moments, he is so confident that God is still there for him. But he even comes to accuse God for being reckless and unfair. So by the end of the chapter, Job demands that God come and explain himself, and God does so. He comes in the form of a great storm cloud. God doesn't give Job a direct answer, and he doesn't tell him about the conversation with the Satan. He does something very different. He takes Job on a virtual tour of the universe. He shows Job how grand the world is and asks him if he's even capable of running or understanding it, just for a day. Job, how much detail there is in the world, and things that we might see every day, but really don't understand at all. Then God shows Job 2 wonderful beasts and brags about how great they are. They are dangerous, but God says that they are not evil. They're actually a part of his good world. the behemoth and the leviathan. From Job's view, it seems like God is not just, but from God's point of view, it is infinitely bigger. He is dramatically interacting with the whole universe, and this is what God calls his wisdom. He shows that asking God to defend himself is kind of absurd. Job cannot comprehend this kind of complexity, even if he wanted to. After all of Job's suffering and trial, God restores double of everything he had lost. This is not a reward for passing the test. This is just proving the point even more. Taking away what Job had was not a punishment, so giving him more was not a reward. God was just giving him a gift. This all leaves Job in a place of humility. He never learned why he suffered, and yet he is able to live in peace and in the fear of the Lord. Now Job is the kind of person that no matter what comes, good or bad, he can trust in the Lord. We need to be able to look at all three of these books to be able to understand what truly living in wisdom really is. And we can use all of these to be able to understand how we can live a good life.